Welcome to the Happy Black Woman Podcast, where we're on a mission to empower women to transform their lives through personal development and entrepreneurship. We bring you all the information, inspiration, and motivation you need to create a life of happiness, success, and freedom. Now, please welcome your host, the happy Black woman herself, Rosetta Thurman.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Happy Black Woman Podcast. I'm Rosetta Thurman, the Happy Black Woman, and I'm excited to bring to you another fantastic guest to inspire you to create your ideal life. I would love to introduce you to Dee Marshall, and you may have heard of her or one of her fabulous brands, because she is regarded as one of the top coaches for women. She really went from being a coach in private practice to building an empire for women's empowerment, including Girlfriends Pray, which I saw years ago when it got started and have just witnessed explosive growth. I keep checking in with Dee and seeing what's going on, and honestly, and selfishly, this interview is also an opportunity for me to learn more about what Dee has done in just a few short years with empowering women all over the world. So I will stop there and let her tell you more about her story, her path, her movement. But for now, welcome, Dee Marshall.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with all you happy women.
You're part of it, right? I mean, you're part of the Happy Black Woman community just by virtue of who you are and what you do. So thank you for joining us. And really, I just want you to have a chance to share with our Happy Black Woman community, what is your mission? Tell us about the work that you do.
Well, you know, the work that I do, the work that God assigned to me is to inspire, encourage, motivate, challenge, and support women. And how we do that, how I do that, how I've been able to manifest that is through this brand, Dee Marshall, etc. brand. You know, we have two sides of this coin, two sides of the brand umbrella. On one side, there is this coaching, training, and development practice for women. And then on the other side, there is this yummy ministry for women. And with that umbrella, that is how it is that God uses me in my gifting and how this thing has manifested in terms of inspiring, encouraging, motivating, challenging, and supporting women. So through the brand, we support women in two ways primarily. You know, I know we're going to talk a bit about business, and I have to say sometimes when people say, well, what do you do? What is it? You know, I know the brand, or I kind of see you here and there, and I know this Girlfriends Pray, but what is it that you do? And in business settings, I typically have to clarify and distinguish that, you know, the Dee Marshall brand, our first line of business is essentially not a business at all. It's a prayer ministry for women called Girlfriends Pray. And then the second line of business is, if you will, is where we do spiritual growth and personal development for women. Mm-hmm. And so that's what it is in a nutshell.
Wonderful. I love it. Just to give people a little bit more context who may not know about Girlfriends Pray, I remember seeing the hashtag on Twitter years ago, and now it's just exploded into impact all over the world. So can you just say a little bit more about that ministry?
Yeah, you know, this is really interesting, Rosetta, because I didn't plan Girlfriends Pray. Girlfriends Pray, just so that we're all clear, Girlfriends Pray is a prayer ministry for women. Our mission is to get more women closer to God through prayer, and we basically provide a platform that helps women to become more disciplined in their prayer life. And if you're more disciplined in your prayer life, you'll have a better walk, a better relationship with God, and then a better spiritual walk. If you have a better spiritual walk, everything in your life will change, and that is how you get to happy. So the mission is prayer, but it affects, it impacts, every area of your life. So that is the ministry. And up until February of this year, Rosetta, I mean, from when you have been following or when you saw us just get started 5 years ago, we were a virtual ministry, meaning most of what we do, 80% of it was delivered online and offline. So it was delivered via the web and via telephone, conference call. And so what we do is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern and 10 p.m. Eastern, we host a corporate prayer call, and women from all over the globe, they chime in. Now, today you can find a prayer call in every corner of Facebook. But 5 years ago, right? But 5 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the case. Churches would have prayer, some of them, but there wasn't really, I don't know, I'm going to say this just because I don't know of any others, but we really led the charge in ministry and women's empowerment in this way, meaning we're not connected to a church, although we believe in Jesus the Christ. Let's just say it, Jesus, right? We're not a like button. We're not, a cult. We're not a group. We're not a sorority, although there's nothing wrong with sorority, but we are a prayer ministry. So Girlfriends Pray is a prayer ministry for women. You can dial in, plug in, wherever you are. And as of February 2015, we have now expanded in our 5th year. And we are now in 3 countries, and we have a physical presence in over 25 U.S. markets. And so what that sort of attaches to, if you will, while our mission is to get more women closer to God through prayer, the vision is 1 million women around the world united in prayer. And let me just say this, Rosetta, and then I'll stop here. When God placed this on my tongue, it wasn't even in my heart. I heard it when I spoke it, meaning when these words came out of my mouth 5 years ago, I knew it was God speaking, and that was the vision of the ministry. The vision that God laid on my tongue was that we would stand and thank God for using a few ordinary women to do the extraordinary work of getting 1 million women around the world united in prayer. The vision for this ministry is 1 million women around the world united in prayer. And so that is what Girlfriends Pray is. I have an amazing team. These women are all around the globe. My direct reports, maybe about 7 to 10 women. They're stretched across 6 or 7 states. And then we have another arm. So let me just stop here and say all of that, not my idea, not on a business plan, not even on a vision board. I didn't declare it before it came. Nobody but God could see this and could do this. Does that make sense, Rosetta?
I mean, that is one of the things that is so powerful about really being open to how you're used. And you've had a few guests come on talking about they had a vision for making a difference in people's lives, but they weren't attached to how that was going to happen. And because they weren't attached to what it was going to look like, miracles happened, and they were put in places that they never could have imagined on their own. So I'm just really resonating with everything you're saying right now, and I know that our listeners are as well.
Yeah, and can I just co-sign what you just said? And whoever has been here before me, I agree with that when you make yourself available. And I'm going to give right now, this is probably more of a tip as to, well, what does that look like? What does it sound like? Because that was true for me. I wasn't attached to how God used me, but here's what I said. I prayed my own prayer of Jabez, but it didn't sound like, Lord, enlarge my territory. Here's what I prayed for Rosetta. I said years ago, real quick story, when I first started the ministry, I was a little overwhelmed for a moment, and just like, you know what, Mom, I was talking to my mother, Mommy, I didn't really ask for this. I've got to now make myself available. I'm used to working alone. Now people, my team have to have my cell phone number. Now I've got to work with other people. I didn't ask for all of this. She said, yes, you did. I said, no, I didn't. She said, yes, you did. I said, Mommy, no, I didn't. She said, yes, I have heard you speak, right? I was speaking around the country before Girlfriends Pray. She said, I've heard you stand on stages and say that I prayed this prayer. And I said, oh, my God, you're right. Here was the prayer that I prayed that I forgot, and I stopped praying the prayer. I said, God, show me how to take who I am, who I want to be, and what I can do and use it for a purpose greater than myself. Again, for your listeners, if you want to know what specifically, as it's been a thread in the Happy Black Woman podcast series, it sounds like, how you too can do that is just pray to be of service. And it goes, God, use me. Show me how to take who I am, who I want to be, and what I can do, and use it for a purpose greater than myself.
I love it.
That's how I got here. That's how I got here.
I will say this is probably the third prayer that we've had shared on the podcast. So, ladies, you may want to rewind this part and really write that one down as another piece in your toolbox of inspiration that you can use when you can't find the words. We can always borrow other people's words that have been inspirational. So add that to our list of powerful prayers. And so, Dee, I don't even know if you remember, but we met briefly in D.C. years ago. You were speaking, and I saw you, and I was like, I got to stay in touch with this woman. I was moving around, and I know you were doing different things, and just it's great to come back full circle. And I'm like, Dee Marshall, that was the one that was great speaking. So I remember it was like a noisy bar we were in.
Yes.
Commanding the room with your voice. It was very powerful. I remember we only had a few minutes to speak on stage, but what you said was inspiring to the people who were listening there. So I just want to ask, there's so much that has happened since you started and you moved forward with this vision that you thought you didn't ask for. What does your world look like now? What does your work look like now? So tell us a little bit about your typical day, because what we're doing with this podcast is really helping sharing the work that you do. So everyone should be involved with the Girlfriends Pray, but also behind the scenes of what does it look like to be a woman who is leading this movement, if you will, who is that stand for empowerment. So tell us a little bit about what your typical day looks like in running this empire that you've built.
Yeah, so, it's really interesting. And I'll say one of the things that's really critical, and then I'm going to share, is you'll see I have a lot of structure. And it's necessary in order to run this enterprise, if you will. I believe it's necessary, and one of the ways to win in life is to have structure for your life. But for those of us who do, and Rosetta, I'm sure yourself as well, you need structure in your life and your days in order to do this, or else it's just not. It's much more challenging. So in my days, I wake up very early, and I like to say I have in days and out days. An in day is a day in the office, and an out day is out and about. An in day is me as a business owner, and often me working in my core genius, where my out days are typically more me with a talent hat on, figurehead hat, networking. So a typical day for me is I wake up at 5:50 most mornings, and the first hour is really my time, my leisure time, my playtime, my what I call level setting. And level setting is where, I give my first hour to me before I give myself away. It's actually a practice that I use, and then one of my girlfriends challenged me to make it available as a product, but it's called level setting. The first hour I give to myself. What do I do in that hour? I pray, I meditate, I do devotion, declarations, I work out, I do a flush, a lemon water flush. That's really my first hour. And then most of the day, I'm in the office. I will say when it's an in-day, I get to my office every day by 9. And I run the business, but I'm here. You know why? Because when I worked on Wall Street, I couldn't show up, late. So why would I show up late for myself? So I'm in the office by 9, but by the time I get in, I've already accomplished on most days, not every day, but one major chunk of my day, meaning one goal I try to focus on before I leave the house. That's a practice that I recently adopted. I think I was listening to a best practice expert around the morning miracle and how to, you can get more things done before 9 a.m. And then in the course of the day, I'm in my office 9 to 5, and it's a range of me and my core genius, which would mean I'm coaching other women. Yesterday I had an in-day core genius. I had 3 coaching clients, and so that's how I spent most of my day. On the other in-office days, I'm accountable to my team. So there's projects that we're working on. They need this, they need that. So a lot of what I do is part, running the business, the operation, some things that are not my favorite things to do, looking at and managing the business side with the CEO hat on. It might be the business development. It might be the numbers. So those are my in days, core genius, business hat, sometimes yummy connections that are happening in the office. Yesterday, I got a really great invitation. The day before, I got a really great invitation after a Skype call. My out days, they literally could range from, I could be in 3 different states in one day, on a train to, from New York, Jersey to D.C., and then back. I could be on a plane for an overnight. In those kinds of out days, I show up as talent or figurehead. Last week, I was invited for an appearance for a screening. And then the week before, I think on a Tuesday, sometimes I go down to the White House when I'm invited for meetings or something that they call a big table meeting. And then there's, I try to stay networked now, where there was a time when I was not out networking locally. I would just be on a plane. So that's my in and my out day. But always there's workout. Always there's time when I silence everybody else. I don't take calls before 9. Don't call me before 9. Don't call me after 9. My phone is on a D&D, do not disturb, from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. You cannot call me. I'm not available. Why? Because I need to fill up. I need to level set in the morning so I could run fast come 9. Between 9 and 5 or 9 to 7, 9 to 8, I'm on. High level, managing multiple businesses and lots of deliverables, although nowadays I try to only focus on 3, the most 3 things to completion. Again, that just has to do with more structure. But those are some of the things. I always set an intention. I always look at my goals in the morning. I always write my goals in the morning, always. And that's what it looks like.
Wow. I just have to say, we'll have to put a bookmark here and pause this podcast and take a witnessing breath, because what Dee just shared with us is really a powerful practice for your life. What we say around the Happy Black Woman community is, when you've heard something powerful, we take a witnessing breath. So we can all do that together. So that's just a witnessing breath to witness the power of what Dee just shared with us. And that is a solution to a problem that many women in our community share with me all the time, which is, I feel like I'm all over the place. I don't have time to work on my dream. I don't feel like I'm organized. I feel like I'm fascinating all the time. All of those things, Dee just gave us the blueprint for how to address those and keep moving forward and live the purpose that we were created for. So I love that you shared about the structure, because the structure is what makes it possible for us to serve. You can't serve without the structure. So maybe coming up with some new sayings here. There's no service without structure, something like that. We're going to have a lot of new inspiration. So I love that you shared your day and also gave some tips about how we can stay productive and you mentioned Morning Miracle. Is that the book Miracle Morning?
Yes, it is the book Miracle Morning. I can't remember the author, but you just called it. So I think
I downloaded it on Kindle, and I haven't read it yet, but now I'm getting excited to crack it open. It's Hal Elrod. So I know our community loves books, so I'm going to put that link in the show notes. But Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. So beautiful ideas. Thank you. I mean, this is the answer to the question, how does she do it all?
That's it. And can I tell you something? The reason I share that, first of all, this is what God has really used as my challenge, my struggle, and then now my opportunity. Now that I know, this is what I teach in, on the personal growth and development side and the personal transformation that I do with women. I literally coach women, a lot of them with goals and aspirations to do big things. We do a lot of coaching around general life basics and structure and getting a handle on your life so that you can do whatever is on your heart. In fact, I'm working on a project right now called whiteboarding, where a lot of women just needing some very basic life skills to get life under control. I share that because a lot of times we sit back and think, well, what does she have that I don't have? And it's not necessarily what does she have that I don't have. God placed in you, in each of us, something very unique, right? So you're going to lead off of that. However, you don't want to say, what does she have that's different? You want to say, what does she do? You want successful people, you want to just pull back the curtain and not look at the surface or the product or the outcome. You want to look at what can I glean in the how. How does she do it? And so what I just shared is I pulled back the curtain to say how. Because if you watch me online or if you watch me, if I'm showing up speaking someplace or you're looking at the brand, you're not going to see the how. So these podcasts, and when I get an opportunity to pull back the curtain, I say, listen, this is what I do. Let me tell you. It's structure. It's life skills. Really quickly, John Wooten, who was the most winningest coach, and I have just become obsessed with that idea that he was the winningest coach and some outrageous number of games and seasons that he won in football. When people say, how did you win? How did you get your team to win? The word is that he never said focus on winning or focus on success. He said focus on development, focus on becoming better. That's what he said. Focus on becoming better. Because if you focus on becoming better, you're going to win anyway. And so that structure that I just shared with you is about me becoming better. So I'm not focusing on the goal. I'm just focusing on better. And I work with women to help them become better, move some of these little pebbles, some of these little blocks out of the way with some very basic things. Some of my clients, they call me the flashlight. I literally can lift up the hood, flash a light and say, boom, here's your challenge right here. Here's your problem right here. Fix this. It could be as simple as, why in the world are you in bed at 1 o'clock and complaining about that you can't get up in the morning? Why are you on Facebook if you're not Happy Black Women, Rosetta Thurman? I mean, why are you there? Even be there with intention. There's your time to write your New York Times best-selling book. It's not that you can't sit down to write. It's resistance. You are working against yourself, standing in your own way. How do you get out of your way? Structure. It's these things, these general life skills that will at least begin to, open you up to more and to better. So let me stop here because you get me up on my soapbox. I love this. Excited.
This is great because you know what? All of our Happy Black women listening all over the world, she is backing me up, right? Because we talk all the time about how you can find the time, how you can reorganize your life. And you're just reinforcing so many things that we talk about in our community, on the blog, on YouTube. I love that you also shared with us that it hasn't been easy for you. It's been a challenge to put the structures in place because when you're creative, when you're visionary, it's even harder to have that structure and adhere to it because it kind of feels like you could be boxed in. I mean, I like being a free spirit, and now I have to be accountable to my team. I was working with one person, now I'm working with 2 and 3 and 4, and everyone needs something, and I can't be on my own schedule anymore. And that's like, ooh, okay, I am running the show, but I'm kind of not running the show.
Yes, that's it. As a leader, we need everybody to hear this. You are running the show, but be clear. You are accountable. Rosetta, my goodness, once I had a meeting really quickly with my team, and this is my inner circle. I literally, and you know what, I think I'm going to say this, and please don't judge me, everybody. My inner circle, I have a large team of direct reports, but my support staff, I have 3+1 on my support. I know it sounds insane, but their roles are necessary. We tried without. And recently we had a Tuesday night team meeting. I said, this meeting has to happen, or else you all are wearing me low with these emails, because literally on my to-do list is my deliverables to my team so that they can do their job and help to serve more women. And so, Rosetta, you're right. It's like, yes, I'm a free spirit. I wing it. I do a lot of stuff, kind of know. It's what I feel like, and you can't do that as a leader, or you have to learn how to manage that so that you can be 100% on purpose and so that God can use you. So I'm so glad you said that.
Totally. It's not easy, but it's necessary for all of us.
Necessary, yeah.
Yeah. So looking ahead to this empire that you're building and growing, you're on the path. And one thing we've been talking about in our Happy Black Woman community is the idea of creating your new reality. That's been kind of our theme going into 2015. And it's scary and exciting, the plans we have for Happy Black Women. When you think about your next 5 years and what you're going to do with Dee Marshall and the brand and Girlfriends Pray, where do you see yourself in the business across the next 5 years?
Yeah, so our vision next 5 years, and it's interesting that you asked the question because we literally have just turned the corner to our next 5 years. So we just completed 5 years or celebrated our 5-year anniversary, Girlfriends Pray. We celebrated it in Bermuda with an expansion there. We hosted a weekend and a conference, Girlfriends Pray, Get Lifted Bermuda. And that was our kickoff to these next 5 years. And so for us, it literally is the worldwide expansion to physical presence, which we did not have in the first 5 years. So what I mean by that is that the ministry and the work that we do was completely virtual, or I should say 80% virtual. And we only showed up by way of a national tour, which we announced year one on Capitol Hill. I hosted a press conference at our second tour stop in D.C., and we said, here's the vision, here's the mission. Vision is 1 million women. So for the next 5 years, it literally is that we would see a physical presence of Girlfriends Pray. And our goal is 7 countries. We're currently in 3. I mean, in technically outside of the States, we have 2 countries right now where we have presence. A 3rd country where we sponsor a program. That's with the Young Women's Christian Association, the YWCA, in Belize. So physical presence in 7 countries at minimum. And we're probably looking at 100 to 50, somewhere around there in terms of our physical presence in the U.S. And what that does is it allows us to serve more women well above 1 million. So that's on the ministry side. On the Girlfriends Pray Life Camp side, which is where we provide spiritual growth and personal development for women who want to live or desire to live an abundant life, we will expand that into an institute, the Girlfriends Pray Life Institute, and create the physical presence, which will now look like campuses all over the country and abroad. Yeah, in fact, we just got an invitation to partner with a local college to deliver. So we're working out the details of that, but that's our first win for the expansion of Girlfriends Pray Life Camp, which allows us to have a physical presence where we're teaching life skills. We're making available the spiritual growth, personal development to support women of faith leaders. A lot of my clients are leaders. I really do and this is nobody but God, but he's really assigned to me, not just women of faith, but there's another bucket. There are women of faith who are leaders, and not just faith leaders, being pastors, co-pastors, because these are women in the secular space. They're executives, hold titles as executive vice president, FBI, NCIS, accountant, attorney. I have even judges who are women of faith. So that's where we'll be 5 years. Physical presence on the prayer side, and then, physical presence in terms of our Girlfriend's Very Life Camp, so that we can reach more women and really empower more women, to do and to be what God has called you to be. Really is to follow God and step into the life he has for you.
It's exciting. It's so exciting to hear about your plans and inspiring. I mean, what I love about this question that I've been asking all my guests is that it inspires all of us to think big and think bigger, because I know because I'm on the journey in the past myself, I know what goes into that. And for you to declare that and share with us, I know that there's a lot of up-leveling you to step into that also, and that's inspiring. It's like who you're going to be throughout that process. So thank you for sharing with us. And, as we get close to our time here, I just want to share a little bit more inspiration and advice for our listeners from you. So, Dee, what makes you happy?
Oh, wow. I do live a happy life. I call it the yummy life. And I could find happiness in anything, but I'll tell you the solid thing. It's really living a life of meaning and purpose makes me happy. It's that I wake up already on a 10. Why do I wake up on a 10 happy? It's because I live a life of meaning and purpose. I know that my life has value. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, at least at this stage in my life. That is my God assignment. It's attached to what I believe. And so that just really makes me happy. And then, along the course of the day, there's lots of little things that make me happy. Woman comes into my office just randomly, and I don't know, she sits and we talk. It's rare, but when I pray and I set an intention for God to use me, and then here comes this woman, business owner, her office is in the same office. So those kinds of things make me happy. My doggie, I'm a woman of a certain age, and I don't have children. I have a furry child, Sophie, furry baby. She makes me happy. She's the funniest, the cutest. She has her own little personality. When I hear testimonies from how women are blessed by this ministry, makes me happy. So I find a lot of things in my day that give me that, but I already wake up happy, so that if nothing happens in the day, I already have a joy and a happy that is not attached to my circumstance. So that's what makes me happy.
Wonderful. I love it. Well, you shared so many wonderful nuggets with us, but the last question I want to ask is, what's the number one tip you would give to the women in our Happy Black Woman community who are thinking about starting a business, doing what they love? I mean, really following your footsteps and paying attention to their purpose and saying, you know what, this is the year I'm going to step up and do it. I know I'm meant to be an entrepreneur and share my gifts with the world, my God-given gifts. What's the number one tip you would give to them?
Yeah, so the number one, I hate that I have to give one. I have two, but I'm going to give just the one. I'm going to be obedient, is make sure as you follow what you love, which is our passion, or you're following your purpose. If you're starting a business, the tip that I have for you is run it like it's a business, not like it's a hobby. Run it like it's a business, not your passion. Run it like it's a business, not your purpose. And the reason I say that is because a lot of women, particularly I see a lot of us who might be women of color, or particularly African-American women, we play smaller because we are looking at this business as if it's a passion or purpose. And if you're doing it just because it's what you love to do and you didn't start the business to make money, then it's not going to work. You should just close up your doors and start a charity. But if you're starting a business based on what you love, make sure that you're clear. You're in business to make money, and talk about it, plan for it, Somebody say revenue, somebody say bottom line. Learn the language. CEO, bottom line, numbers, financials, those are not things we talk about because as the E-Myth Revisited says, we are busy being technician, we're busy being the entrepreneur, and nobody wants to be a business owner or a CEO and say, money, bottom line, I'm in business to make money. So say I'm in business to make money, and if you're not in business to make money or you're uncomfortable saying and believing it and working towards making money, then don't call yourself a business. Find a hobby where you can do what you love. And that's my one tip.
The tip is golden.
Would you let me say really quickly the second one?
Oh,
develop yourself. Develop yourself. Develop yourself. Furthermore, develop yourself, develop your craft.
Those are both so powerful, so powerful. Now, Dee, I really want people to be able to find out more about you, be a part of the work you're doing, and get more resources from you. So where can our listeners go to stay in touch with you?
Okay, they can go to dcmarshall.com, and it's my first name, D-E-E, middle initial C, last name Marshall.com, and there you can find the both sides of the Dee Marshall brand. You can find Dee Marshall and some of the resources that we have available and what we do in terms of coaching women, the life coaching and the leadership coaching and the spiritual coaching you can find there. And you'll also find a link that will take you right to our Girlfriends Pray brand, which is the ministry. And so, again, it's dcmarshall.com. And everywhere on social media, I'm DC Marshall. So I'm on Facebook as DC Marshall, Twitter as DC Marshall, Instagram and LinkedIn as DC Marshall. Like I said, on the website, you can always link to Girlfriends Pray and find out about the ministry. You can pray with us or find out how to plug into those calls. You can find a local group. I think prayer lends to the happy. Yep. So there,
totally,
you'd be able to find us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Dee. You can find more about Dee at deecmarshall.com. And wow, so much wisdom has been shared today. And I want everybody to go back and listen to all of our podcast episodes if you haven't already. Dee is just one of the phenomenal women that I've had the pleasure of discovering through our Happy Black Woman community. She's serving so many of you already, and I want you to be able to learn from all the other amazing women that we've had on the show so far.
Can we give them the gift, Rosetta?
Oh, the gift. The gift. How can they get the gift?
Okay, I want them to go to the website and listen. It's going to tie into our talk because it's the tool to create structure. Go to dcmarshall.com. There you will see the free gift, and there's a tool there, and it'll connect directly to what I was talking about how to create structure in your day. It's a downloadable. There's a life plan, life work, and then there's the DAO, Decent and in Order, which is a planner. And so there you go. I'll give that definitely for your audience because it'll tie into this podcast very nicely. And now you all will get it in terms of structure.
Yay! Oh, so generous. Thank you for telling people where they can get that. So useful, so resourceful, and I know that you all get so much value out of that. And I will talk to you next time on the Happy Black Woman podcast. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on the Happy Black Woman podcast. If you want all the show notes from today's episode, go to happyblackwomanpodcast.com. Plus, we'll send you a copy of Rosetta's free life mapping workbook. We look forward to empowering you next time, and until then, do something this week that makes you happy.